This morning, I will talk to you about what I have learned from 70 years of friendship with my neighbor and classmate, Christine. I'm going to share with you my thoughts on some of the choices we make in our lives and the value of the connections we establish with other people as a result of those choices. Ever since I helped my friend Christine downsize her home in preparation for moving to a nursing home, I have been pondering what keeps a friendship alive and healthy over many years. Is there value in the friendships and acquaintances that fade over time? What is there in our lives that is really important to save? What should we, for sure, get rid of? How do we make those decisions? Christine and I were friends since first grade, 70 years of friendship. We were in the same classes together throughout our childhood, and we were neighbors, so we walked to school together for 12 years. Of course, we had our tiffs and petty jealousies, but along the way, I feel we shared a deep connection. At the age of 76, Christine had serious medical issues, had spent most of her funds, and was bedridden, needing caregivers every day. The good part was that her mind was still sharp, so she was able to make arrangements for the help she needed. By this time, I lived in Pennsylvania, and I hadn't visited Christine for several years. From her phone calls, I knew something had to be done. So I decided that I should go to Connecticut to take things in hand with the help of another of Christine's longtime friends, Grace. Christine's parents had, of course, died by this time, and there was no spouse, no children, no siblings, nor even cousins. There was truly no family. Think about the reality of having no family. What a sad situation for her to be in. How could I not go? Christine was a complicated individual. She was very intelligent, but lacked something maybe I'd call common sense. That seems to me to account for the fact that she didn't have much in the way of financial resources left. She was very generous, probably too much so, and she tended to have champagne taste on a beer budget, as they say. As an adult, Christine had dealt with depression for many years. She saw the same psychiatrist for 25 years, but I think that he knew more about me and Grace than he knew about Christine. I have to believe he could have helped her if he had known what her life was really like. I think his main function was to prescribe medication. At least by seeking psychiatric help, she was trying to deal with her demons. For some reason, she chose not to tell him the things that he needed to know in order to help her. She kept the truth from him, from many other friends, and possibly even from herself. So what was Christine's life like as an adult? She had a master's degree in library science and worked for years at Yale. Those, I think, were the good years. When she was about 40, just after her mother died, she went back to school at Cornell and earned a law degree. This choice, I thought, showed a lot of courage, even though it didn't turn out as well as I might have hoped. She ultimately found a law position in New Haven. Christine was devoted to the man who hired her, but unfortunately he died a few years after she was hired, and his sons did not keep her on. I don't know why for sure, but I think it probably had something to do with the fact that Christine's office was piled high with papers. She could not possibly have seen a client in her own office. After losing her position at the firm, she practiced law independently, and her home was, but she had no office, and her home was not presentable enough for her to have clients meet her there. She specialized in elder law. She was very actively involved in the Alzheimer's Association, both for professional reasons and also because she had dealt with her father's dementia. After she purchased her first home in 1991, I was the only person ever invited to come into the house. She seemed embarrassed to have anybody come into her home. Grace, who had been a dear friend for all of Christine's adult life, felt very hurt by this behavior. Every time I visited, I was admonished not to tell Grace about how the house looked. I guess Christine figured my house wasn't immaculate, so it would be okay if I came. Maybe I should have been offended, but I wasn't. Here's something that is important to keep, a promise. I have to confess, I wasn't good at keeping Christine's secret. I don't even feel especially guilty about this because Grace lived nearby and was often the person whom Christine asked when she needed help. Grace had even given Christine some big-ticket items, like a washing machine and a car. It seemed to me that after all those years of friendship, Grace should know what was happening. Was I rationalizing my unwillingness to keep Grace in the dark? Of course, she had to have known something was amiss because she was never invited inside. It was in 2019 that it became clear to me that I needed to go and help Christine clean out her home in preparation for selling it. But the first problem to be solved was finding a nursing home that would accept Medicaid and not be too drab and depressing. Choosing another person's nursing home is a daunting task. But Grace and I took it on with the best of intentions. Christine couldn't even visit the place that would be her new home. After traveling around New Haven, visiting a variety of places, we settled on one that seemed to meet the criteria. The major problem of downsizing a home had to be started immediately, and even so, I was there for a month. As you've probably guessed by now, Christine was a hoarder. Some months before this cleaning out trip took place, Christine had fallen, and the EMTs had to come to the house. The result was that the firemen who accompanied the EMTs recognized the situation right away. Christine was taken to the hospital as a result of the fall, and Grace was left with the task of arranging to have the house made safe. A great deal of stuff was hauled away, and Christine was able to return. You would think that this would have made my job easy, but it was far from easy. Christine had bags and bags and boxes of papers, which she felt she had to go through piece by piece. We spent many afternoons and evenings going through those papers. I guarantee you, I didn't filter them with the same care that she did. The question was, what was important to keep? What needed to be shredded? And what could be tossed out? There were legal papers to be considered. Most of the rest was old receipts, junk mail, newspapers, magazines. In short, nothing that, in my estimation, ever needed to be saved. But it had been important to her, so who was I to impose my values on her? I think it is very important not to judge another person's choices unless you walked in their shoes. I wasn't very good at withholding my judgment. I was tired and overwhelmed, and not able to offer the empathy and emotional support that I wish now that I had. Some days we were able to work together amicably and share reminiscences about our past experiences. Those days were a gift to both of us. Other days, not so much. In retrospect, I am glad I was able to be with Christine at that difficult time in her life and to see her settled in a nursing home. In spite of our differences of opinion about what needed to go and what could be kept, she was very grateful for my help. Christine lived only 6 months after she moved to the nursing home. I know at the end she was frightened and lonely. I'm sorry that I was not there to hold her hand and listen during those final days and hours. She had lost ever so much during that last year, and I lost a longtime friend. Most of us have had the experience of downsizing a home, either our own or that of a family member. Making all those decisions is not fun. Some choices are relatively easy. Important legal papers, family history information, probably some but not all photos, things that have special connections to the people who have been important to us. In an article I read recently, the author quoted Matt Paxton, an extreme cleaning expert. Paxton recommends creating a legacy list of the 5 things most meaningful to you in your house, and then sharing the memories associated with those things. That will help your family understand what is important to you. What's of real value is the memories which we keep and share while we get rid of the stuff. Our children probably are not going to want many of the things we would like to pass on to them, but they are likely to treasure the stories that we tell about our lives and the lives of our parents and other family members. Preparing this homily has helped me to think through my relationship with Christine and why it was important to me. I have some fear that she may come back to haunt me after I've shared her secrets. However, I think she would be happy to know that I think of those weeks as having given me new insight into the connection we shared for so many years and into the relationships I have with other friends. I must admit, I didn't stop to think about how lonely my friend must have been at the end. I don't think that having a spouse and children is essential to happiness, but having no family at all has to feel sad and empty. There was nothing that she needed to keep as a legacy for her family. She was fortunate to have some good friends who valued the connection they had with her for many years. Deciding what to keep and what to toss certainly involves different decisions depending on the circumstances and the family members and friends who are involved. There's a joke that you better be nice to your children because they may be the ones choosing your nursing home. I guess the same could be said that they may be the ones choosing what gets thrown out at the end. Ultimately, it's the special connections we have forged with the people with whom we shared our lives which we need to save and nurture. In our church experience, we have the opportunity to develop close personal relationships. In fact, that's part of our church's mission statement. Chalice circles are especially meant to help us develop close ties with others in the faith community. The more vulnerable we're able to be, and the more trusting we are with one another, the more depth there will be to the friendships we enjoy. We gain insight and understanding from all the connections we make with others, including the relationships we have with casual acquaintances. In a New York Times article I read recently, the author speaks of research done about the benefits we enjoy from what he calls weak ties. Those are people such as waitresses, folks in the dog park, bank tellers, people we almost didn't see at all during the pandemic. These connections provide us with a low-demand opportunity for interaction without the conflicts, responsibilities, and other complications that are involved with people with whom we have close ties. Researchers found that having weak ties with a variety of other people boosts our positive moods and reduces the odds of being depressed. As I read that article, I thought about the boost I get when I share a few words with someone. For example, the person behind me in line at the grocery store. Let's all think this week about the most meaningful relationships we have had over our lives. Think especially of those that involve choice rather than those that were close to us because of family ties. Think also about the joy you can feel by sharing a greeting or a joke with someone you seldom see or may never see again, those with whom we have weak ties. Go forth and enjoy the people in your life.